Well guys, it's time for a New Year's worth of videos. And of course, that means traveling. Now you probably can't really tell where I am, at least not yet, but what if I show you around a little bit? Okay, so even though you got to see some drone footage of this area, you're probably still not sure where it is, and honestly, I'm not either. This is just some halfway point between Los Angeles and Phoenix, Arizona, which is where we're headed for today's video. They just switched their state laws from spread limit to no limit. If you don't know what spread limit means, it's not too important anymore, but pretty much you can only bet a max amount per street, meaning flop, turn, and river. Now they just switched to the regular no limit hold'em, and I feel like that's gonna bring along some fun action, so why not head over there and enjoy the New Year's with Megan. She's patiently waiting in the car back here. We're also gonna spend my birthday over there, by the way, the 30th of December. Now, you guys probably don't care about any of that. You just wanna see me play some cards, so fair enough. Let's fast forward to Talking Stick, where I'm gonna be playing either 5-10 or 10-20 or 2-5. I don't know what's gonna be running, but whatever it is, you're about to find out in a few seconds. Let's go. Alright guys, here we are playing some 5-10 in Arizona. The max for this game is $2,500, so that's what I sit down with and waste no time finding a playable hand. 9-8 of diamonds. There's a raise in middle position to $20, which is the minimum. I'm not sure what's up with that, so I make it 80, and then the small blind makes it 180. We each have around 2,500 to start, so being deep and in position, I happily make the call. Heads up to a flop, which isn't what I had in mind. Ace 10-5 with a flush draw. However, my opponent checks it. I'm not going to try anything on this board though, so I check also. And now the turn card is the 10 of clubs. This time my opponent bets $225, which doesn't really make much sense to me since it's way more likely I have a 10 than he does. For that reason, I decide to turn my hand into a bluff now with a raise to $600. Honestly, it's not the best candidate to do it with, since I don't even have a draw. But unless we're up against pocket aces, I expect this to work fairly often, either right now or later on. But after about a minute, my opponent flashes the king of diamonds and folds. Nice to end the hand right here before having to do something crazy on the river. In the next hand, action folds to the button who makes it $40 before I look down at kings in the small blind. I make it 180 to go, and he calls. Heads up to a flop of 5-3 deuce rainbow. I decide to bet small, but I think I like a check better here. Anyway, my opponent raises to $290, and I make the call. Turn card is the 10 of hearts. I check it, and this time he checks it back. At this point, I think he's probably got a pocket pair that raised me on the flop to try to get a cheap showdown. So when the river comes a jack, I'm going to go for value. If he raises me, it's going to be a straightforward fold, but I would hate to check and have him check back a worse hand, so I throw out a bet of $600 and he snap calls. Seems like good news to me until he turns over aces. Well, it could have been worse, I guess. Moments later, I open ace 10 to 30 in early position and get called by the cutoff and the small blind. Flop comes ace high, so that's cool. I bet 30 again. The cutoff folds, but the small blind calls. Turn card brings in the flush, at which point the small blind decides to lead for $45. I'm not folding just yet, especially for that price, so I call, and we see the ace of diamonds on the river. Small blind isn't done betting though, this time $90, and now we're in an interesting spot. At first I contemplate raising as a bluff, and then I realize two things. One, I'm getting a good price with a good hand, and two, no one folds flushes anyways, right? So in the end, I decide to just call, and we end up beating Queen 9 offsuit. All right. Moving right along, I pick up 8-7 suited, raise it up to 40 over a limper, and get 3 callers. 4 ways to a magical flop. 9-6-4, 2 spades. Probably the most beautiful 8 high I've ever had. Action checks to me, and I bet 150 for some reason. Not sure why I bet so large, but whatever. I have about 900 outs anyway. We get a call from the big blind and find one of the best cards on the turn, the 10 of diamonds. As if that wasn't sweet enough already, the big blind now announces all in for around 400 or 500 maybe. Obviously no decision to be had anyway. I just turn it over and make the call. River comes an offsuit jack, and he mucks. Not really an instructive hand by any means, but certainly an enjoyable one. Things are going much better now. Let's see if we can keep it going with pocket jacks in the small blind. There's an open from early position to 80. I'm definitely going to raise it up with this hand, so I make it 380, and after some thought, he makes the call. Heads up out of position to another incredible flop. Ace Jack 6 with 2 diamonds. On this board, I would just bet all my hands for a small size. Middle set is no exception, so I throw out $250, but my opponent decides that's not enough before making it $900 to go. On top of that, this is the only other player at the table who's got over $3,000 in his stack. So yeah, dream situation here. Anyway, I think raising would be terrible, and I'm not folding either, so that just leaves one option. I make the call and cross my fingers for a clean turn card, which isn't exactly what we get. The King of Hearts, putting a second flush draw out there, and some possible straights, I guess. I check it, and my opponent bets again, this time $900. After this bet, he's got around $2,000 remaining, so even though I don't hate just calling again, I prefer going all in right now since I'm out of position. So that's what I do, and after a few seconds, he makes the call. Suddenly we have almost $7,000 in the pot with one card to come, and that card is the 8 of clubs. I turn my hand over, and he shows Ace Queen of spades. So 3 of a kind is good enough to win it, and we take down the biggest pot of the night so far. Later on, I put on the $20 straddle. The poker gods approve of this and instantly reward me with pocket aces. There's an open to 150. I make it 600. And he folds. Okay, moving on. There's an open from early position to 40 before I look down at ace deuce of hearts on the button. Probably fine to mix between all 3 options here. I elect on a raise this time to 150, and he makes the call. Heads up to a flop of King 8-3 with 1 heart. As I'm contemplating my evil master plan, my opponent decides to lead for $105. Seeing as I've got some backdoor, straight, and flush potentials, plus the fact that I could represent some strong hands on this board, I make the call and we see the Queen of Hearts on the turn, giving me the nut flush draw. My opponent doesn't slow down though, this time firing for $225. Once again, an interesting decision point. Calling seems fine, of course. I've got a flush draw in position and getting a decent price. However, option B is to raise right now and then apply max pressure on the river, whether we make a flush or not. On some other boards, I would not consider this, but on this one, I could have sets, 2 pair, aces, ace king, etc. So it seems like a solid idea. After some thought, that's what I decide to do by bumping it up to 525, and then disaster strikes.
525. Are you filming? What? Yeah. No, you gotta turn it up. Can't do it.
Unfortunately, the floor staff walked by and asked me to stop recording, so for the rest of this hand, you guys will just have to settle for my voice, but I'll make it quick. So after raising to 525, my opponent thought about it for a while before calling, so looking for some help on the river, which doesn't come. He checks it over this time, and well, I'm just going to stick to the plan. I fire one last attempt, this one for $1,400, and he goes in the tank. It must have been 2 or 3 minutes, but in the end, he decides on a fold. Happy to get it through, but honestly, I'm just bummed out I couldn't capture the entirety of the hand on camera. With production back up and running, I open ace 3 of spades to 50 over a limper, and only he makes the call. Heads up to ace 8 deuce with 2 hearts. He checks, and I check it back this time. Turn card is the 6 of hearts, bringing in the flush, and now he bets $110. Not a great situation, but I'm not going to fold top pair just yet, so I make the call, and we see the 5 of clubs on the river. My opponent isn't done betting though, this time $350. Tricky spot yet again, but for whatever reason, this time I decide to fold. The last hand of the night is kind of a fun one. There's an open from late position to 40, and I defend the big blind with Jack 10. Flop comes Queen, Queen 8, I check, and he places a continuation bet of $50. Now, if I had a queen or a full house, I would definitely want to check raise those hands, so throwing in some bluffs occasionally seems like a good idea, and this time that's what I decide to do with a raise to 175. Plus, I could always hit a 9 for a straight, right? My opponent says go ahead and try, as he makes the call. Turn card is a brick. This time I decide to check it, and he checks it back. River pairs the bottom card, so all I have now is Jack high and a dream. However, I would have played some strong hands this way also, which is all the excuse I need to fire $500. Now my opponent starts to think it over, then thinks it over some more. Come on, man. Just fold. I have a queen. No need to be a hero. Okay, good call, sir. Yeah, that's a good call. Nice hand. Anyway, shortly after this one, it was getting late, so I decided to rack up and call it a night. I hope you guys enjoyed the hands. So I think Talking Stick has probably one of the nicest valet areas I've seen. But anyway, this one here just withstood a 7-hour session. Shout out to her for her patience. What did you think of how I played today?
It was great.
All in all, it was a very up and down session, like a lot of good things, right? But also a lot of bad things, like the kings into aces, being told to stop filming. She said that the Jack 10 bluff was incorrect. Megan knows best. But overall, can't complain because I was in for $4,500 and cashed out for almost a $4,000 profit. Not bad at all for a birthday session. And so it's time to go celebrate. But before I sign off, I want to let you guys know that potentially in a week, I'm going to be playing 2550 on Live at the Bike with none other than Garrett, who most of you guys may know. So should be a good time, and it's not a bad start to the year as far as vlogs go. If you guys watched all the way to the end, I appreciate it. If you give this video a thumbs up, it means a lot. Thanks so much, and as always, thank you guys for the continued support. Until next time, we're saying goodbye. Good luck at the tables. Peace.